My name is Olivia Mitchell. I grew up in Highland Park, a perfectly polished suburb of Chicago. To the outside world, we were the Golden family. My dad, a world-renowned surgeon. My mom, a corporate lawyer who'd never lost a case. And my older brother Jason, the golden child who followed in Dad's footsteps without missing a beat. And me? I was the quiet one. The girl who liked computer stuff. The one who got polite smiles at dinner when she shared her interests. Our dining table wasn't for conversation. It was a stage, and my act never quite earned a standing ovation. While Jason talked about saving lives and winning scholarships, I dared to say, I built a website this week. My mother smiled, tight-lipped. That's nice, honey. But shouldn't you be focusing on your debate team? Colleges look for consistency. Computers were toys. Real success wore white coats and black robes. At least, that's what I was taught. But late at night, while the rest of the house slept, I learned JavaScript under my bedsheets. I coded my dreams into reality. I had no audience.
No cheerleaders. No mentors.
Just me, the glow of a laptop screen, and a fire no one saw. I still remember the day I won first place in a regional coding competition. I came home clutching the trophy. My dad glanced at it, said that's wonderful dear, then turned back to a toast, for Jason, who'd gotten into med school. That night, I made a promise to myself. If they wouldn't see me now, one day, they wouldn't be able to look away. And I meant it. After college, my parents expected me to settle down, maybe work in HR, get married, join a book club. Instead, I moved into a tiny studio apartment in downtown Chicago with peeling paint, a broken heater, and just enough space for a mattress, a desk, and my dreams. I didn't tell them much. I didn't bother explaining that I wasn't unemployed. I was building something. Something real. Something massive. I launched my first company from that room, a platform for small business owners to manage client bookings, payments, and customer reviews, all in one place. The first 6 months were brutal. I maxed out credit cards.
Ate dollar ramen.
Worked 20 hours a day. I cold emailed 1,000 people, and 999 ignored me. But the one who replied? She was a hairstylist from Atlanta. Her name was Mika. She became my first client. Then came the second. Then the 10th. Within a year, I had 1,000 active users, all by myself. No marketing team. No investors. No press. Just grit, code, and relentless belief. Meanwhile, my family kept inviting me to dinners where I sat quietly while Jason discussed thoracic surgery and my mother recited verdicts like bedtime stories. Every time someone asked what I was doing, I smiled and said, just working on some tech stuff. They nodded vaguely, clearly assuming I was unemployed or freelancing for scraps. Jason even pulled me aside once and said, I know Mom and Dad are tough, but don't worry. If you ever want to get serious, I can talk to my hospital's HR team for you. I said thank you. I didn't need to say anything else. Because while they were measuring my worth in job titles, I was quietly building a company that would soon be worth millions. But they wouldn't know that. Not yet. By the end of my second year in business, I had 15,000 active users and was generating consistent revenue. I hired my first employee, a brilliant UI designer from Seattle who I'd never met in person. Then another. And another. I still ran everything under a different company name, something neutral, something forgettable. On paper, I was just O. Mitchell, founder of a growing SaaS startup. Not Olivia. Not the quiet daughter or Jason's weird little sister. But in the tech world, people were starting to talk. We hit 50,000 users by year 3. We launched our mobile app. We were featured, anonymously, in TechCrunch's Startups to Watch. I started getting emails from investors. We're interested in what you're building. Let's talk. Your numbers are impressive. Can we set up a call? Who are you? That last one hit me hardest. Because they all saw the success. They just didn't know it was mine. And honestly, I liked it that way. I still showed up at family dinners. Still wore the same Target cardigans and let Jason talk about cardiac procedures without interruption. No one asked how I was doing anymore. They assumed they knew. I had no ring on my finger. No letters after my name. No framed degrees on the wall. So clearly, I was still figuring things out. But they didn't know that I had just signed a lease for a new office downtown. Or that I was onboarding a team of 30. Or that I had just closed my first $1.2 million in seed funding, with 70% equity still in my hands. I had built the kind of life they would brag about, if it belonged to anyone else. And every time they underestimated me, I smiled. Because I was no longer proving them wrong. I was proving myself right. When Jason got engaged to a woman named Amelia, the announcement came via a glossy invitation printed on thick, gold-embossed cardstock. The kind of event where even the envelopes felt like a tax bracket. I almost didn't go. Not because I didn't care, but because I knew exactly how it would play out. Jason would bask in compliments. My parents would beam with pride. I'd be introduced as Jason's sister, smile politely, and disappear into the wallpaper. But something told me to show up. So I did. I wore a simple navy dress. No brand names. No expensive jewelry. Just me. The venue was extravagant. Crystal chandeliers. Champagne towers. A string quartet in the corner. And of course, the usual whispers. Oh, that's Olivia. She's the one who, works on computers? I think she freelances. Or maybe she's between jobs. I smiled. Let them talk. Then came the moment. Amelia, Jason's fiancée, found me near the hors d'oeuvres table. You're Olivia, right? She asked, her eyes bright. Yes, I said cautiously. Olivia Mitchell. As in founder of CloverSync. My heart stopped. CloverSync was my company's name. But I'd never connected it to my full name publicly. Not until that month, when an interview with a startup blog had gone semi-viral. My photo. My story. The whole journey, out there for anyone to see. Apparently, Amelia had seen it. I use your platform for my interior design business, she said. I love it. I had no idea you were, you. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. Then she turned, raised her champagne glass, and called out. Jason. Did you know your sister is the Olivia Mitchell, the one who built CloverSync? The music didn't stop. But every conversation around us did. My parents turned. So did Jason. Their faces, confusion, disbelief, and something else I'd never seen before. Silence. Then Amelia said the words that would change everything. She's the founder. And for the first time in my life, they looked at me like. The room didn't go silent, but it may as well have. Jason blinked like Amelia had spoken in another language. Wait. CloverSync? That's your company? I nodded, slowly. Yeah. It's mine. I built it. 5 years ago. My mother stepped forward, brow furrowed. Why didn't you ever tell us? There it was. That edge in her voice, not curiosity, but control. As if my success was a secret I wasn't allowed to keep without permission. I shrugged. You never asked. Jason let out a short laugh, more shocked than amused. But CloverSync's worth, like, hundreds of millions, right? 200, last valuation, I said. But who's counting? I didn't say it to brag. I said it because I'd waited a lifetime to be seen as more than a footnote in someone else's story. The crowd around us began to shift. Friends of the family glanced over their champagne glasses. Distant relatives murmured. The invisible sister had turned out to be the headline. My father looked, stunned. Not proud. Not angry. Just stunned. And maybe a little embarrassed. So I said it. Finally. You all made it very clear what success looked like to you. Lab coats. Courtrooms. Med schools. I didn't fit that picture, so you assumed I failed. My mother shook her head. We were just trying to guide you. No, I said, voice steady. You were trying to rewrite me. They didn't respond. They didn't have to. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't explaining myself. I wasn't asking for validation. I wasn't shrinking to make them comfortable. I was standing in the room, fully seen. And whether they clapped or not, I'd already won. I left the engagement party before dessert was served. There were no hugs.
No fireworks.
No big scene. Just me, quietly walking out the front door, while murmurs floated behind me like ghosts. I got into my car, shut the door, and let the silence wrap around me. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just breathed. Because after years of being underestimated, overlooked, and edited out of my own story, I had finally said what needed to be said, not just to them but to myself. I don't need them to get it, I whispered into the dark. I get it. That moment, that quiet drive home, was the first time I felt the full weight of freedom. Not the freedom that comes with money or a big office or magazine features, but the freedom of no longer needing to prove anything. You spend so long chasing validation, thinking that if they just saw the numbers, the awards, the impact, they'd finally clap for you. But when they do, and it doesn't matter anymore, that's when you know you've made it. Not because of the applause, but because you outgrew the need for it. I parked outside my apartment, stared up at the same old window, and realized something else. I had built everything I dreamed of, alone. Without shortcuts. Without favors. Without applause. And that wasn't sad. That was powerful. Because it meant my success belonged to no one but me. So I walked inside, poured a glass of tea, and opened my laptop. I had 3 investor calls the next day. 2 partnership proposals. And a new initiative to launch for women in tech. There was still work to do. But for the first time, it felt light, like purpose, not pressure. Because I wasn't working to be seen anymore. I was working because I finally knew who I was. 2 days after the engagement party, I was catching up on emails when I saw it. Subject line. From someone who finally saw you. It was from Amelia. I clicked.
Y Olivia.
I wanted to say thank you. Not just for building CloverSync, which has completely changed my business, but for the way you carried yourself the other night. You didn't gloat. You didn't throw anyone under the bus. You stood there with quiet power and grace, and honestly, it was one of the most inspiring things I've seen in a long time. I know your family doesn't say it, but I will. I'm proud of you. And if you're ever open to it, I'd love to partner on something. Something bigger than either of us. I think you're building more than software. I think you're building a new kind of legacy. Amelia. I sat back in my chair, stunned. Not because of the offer, though it was generous, thoughtful, and sincere, but because of her words. She saw me. Not as Jason's sister. Not as the girl who never quite measured up. But as me. Someone who had built something real. Not for applause. Not for revenge. But for women like her. Women like me. I replied simply. Thank you for seeing me. Let's talk. We scheduled a call. 1 conversation became 5. 5 turned into a business retreat. That retreat became the seed for a mentorship platform we co-created, a space for female entrepreneurs to connect, pitch, grow, and own their narratives. It wasn't just about tech anymore. It was about stories, visibility, legacy. And in that, I found something I hadn't even realized I was missing. Community. Not the kind I was born into, but the kind I chose. And this time, I wasn't building alone. A week later, I stood in front of the house I grew up in. The same red brick. The same rose bushes trimmed too perfectly. The same heavy door I used to walk through quietly, hoping not to take up too much space. But this time, I didn't knock timidly. I rang the bell and stood tall. My mother opened the door. She looked surprised, but stepped aside. Your father's in his study, she said. Jason's stopping by later. I didn't come for him, I replied. She led me to the living room. Same old sofa. Same tense energy. She sat. I remained standing. Olivia, she began. We didn't know. We never imagined you were doing something so big. Because you never asked, I said quietly. She opened her mouth, but I held up a hand. I'm not here for an apology. I'm not here to be celebrated. I looked her in the eye, the same eyes that used to glance past me at the dinner table. I just need you to understand this. I didn't succeed because of your doubt. I succeeded despite it. She blinked. Said nothing. You taught me how to work hard. How to be disciplined. For that, I'm grateful. But you also taught me that unless I fit your mold, I was invisible. That wasn't our intention, she whispered. Maybe not, I said. But that was the impact. The silence between us was heavy, but not bitter. I'm not angry anymore, I added. I just needed to stop shrinking to fit this house. I placed a photo on the coffee table, a group shot from our new mentorship program's first retreat. Dozens of women. Smiling. Powerful. Unapologetically seen. That's what I've built, I said. Then I turned to go. You're welcome to be proud. But I don't need it anymore. I walked out the door, not bitter, not broken, not needing anything left inside. I walked out free. It was my first time speaking on a stage. The room was packed, a Women in Tech summit downtown, filled with startup founders, students, and silent dreamers like I used to be. I stood behind the podium, palms sweating, staring at a sea of faces. Not investors. Not judges. Just women. Like me. I told my story, not the glossy version. The ramen dinners. The skipped family holidays. The rejection emails. The silence from people I wanted most to notice me. And then the breakthrough. The growth. The moment I realized success meant nothing if I had to pretend I didn't want to be seen. I told them. For years, I kept my head down so I wouldn't disappoint the people I loved. And when I finally looked up, I realized. I'd built something remarkable. Not for them. For me. When I finished, the applause was loud, but it wasn't the sound that stuck with me. It was the girl in the back row. Glasses. Hoodie. Notebook filled with scribbles. Maybe 19. Maybe 20. She waited until the end. Then approached me quietly. You probably don't remember me, she said, voice trembling. But we were in the same high school coding camp. You were always in the corner building something, and I used to think, if you could do it, maybe I could too. I blinked. I do remember you. Today was my first day thinking I might actually be enough, she said. So thank you. She didn't need to say more. She walked away, and I stood there for a long time, holding the business card she left in my hand. That was it. That was the moment. I didn't need my family's recognition. I didn't need headlines or funding rounds. All I needed was that one girl in the back row. To remind me why I started building in the first place. It's funny, isn't it? The people who once spoke over you. One day, they whisper your name like a headline. The family that once rolled their eyes. They now forward your articles. Send so proud of you texts. Call you inspirational in public, but still awkward at dinner. And honestly, it doesn't hurt anymore. Because I don't build for their approval. I build for every woman coding under a blanket at 2 a.m. For every quiet one in a loud family. For the daughter who brings her own folding chair because no one left her a seat at the table. I built CloverSync. Then I built something bigger. A space for women like me to rise without apology. To own their brilliance. To speak without shrinking. To succeed, loudly or silently, on their own terms. Am I proud of the company? Yes. But I'm prouder of the woman I became when no one was looking. The one who didn't quit when she was overlooked. Who didn't need noise to make an impact. Who didn't wait for permission to be powerful. And if you're hearing this, let me say something no one said to me soon enough. You are not invisible. You are not too late. You are not too small. You are not just anything. You are capable of more than they imagined for you. Especially if they never imagined anything at all. So stand up. Build. Start the thing. Write the code. Make the call. And when they ask, wait, that was you? Smile and say, it's always been me. You just weren't looking.